Hello, fellow Voyagers. Jess with Odyssey Human here today to talk about how to instantly shift your reality using precognition. Welcome to the channel. This is Odyssey Human, where we explore the outer reaches of human consciousness and experience and talk about things like emotional mastery, advanced manifesting, extended human capabilities, and more. Welcome. I'm so glad you're here. So today I have a special treat for you. I'm just prefacing this video, but I'm going to attach a clip from the vault. So this video that I shot several months ago when my channel was named something else, and I didn't feel like it was the right time to release it. And now I'm like, oh great, it's totally time to release it now that the channel has pivoted. And yeah, so I'm going to share this clip from the vault where I describe essentially what the precognitive technique that I use. And this technique it's ironic because as I was reviewing this video yesterday to include it, I realized that how often I do this now in between the time I shot the video and today, how often I use this technique. And many of my major manifestations in the last few years use precognition. And what is precognition? Is essentially getting a quick, to me, this is how I experience it, getting a quick glimpse of something that's in your future, that's coming, right? To me, when we look at and feel, I talked about cognitive spaces in my last video, metacognitive spaces, I'll link it above. But we have kind of a spatial timeline of these things that are happening in the future are in this metacognitive space, right? And the things that are in the past are behind us. So to me, the stuff that's in the future is again, like kind of up and to the right, and the stuff that's in the back, behind is kind of behind me. And so, as if my timeline were, I'm looking ahead into my timeline and the past is behind me. And so precognitively, when it feels like I get this flash or I create the flash, this is the beauty of it. When you start to work with these loops, these precognitive loops, we never know whether that little spark of what you see is some knowledge that's coming from outside to inside you, or if it's coming from the inside out. I think everything emanates from inside of us, but it certainly feels sometimes in the past, like when I manifested this apartment, I actually saw it in my mind's eye. I saw the location. I got a quick flash I saw the exact location. I didn't see what the apartment looked like. I just knew, like literally like a pin on a map of, oh, that's where it is. And then I knew it existed. I knew it was there. I had that precognitive, like that, and the flash is so quick. It's so quick. And in having that flash, I consented to it, right? And sometimes when we get these flashes, these simulative experiences that kind of stand out, we're like, oh, that's interesting. Because we're doing it all the time. We're constantly simulating. We're constantly in our imagination. We're constantly imagining what's going to happen next or playing out different scenarios. But sometimes things stand out to us and we consent to them or we don't, right? We're either like, oh, yes. And it's just a little teeny bit of consent of like, oh yeah. For me, it was like, oh yeah, that's awesome. I'm looking for an apartment right now. That's perfect. Otherwise, it's just a fleeting thought. If we don't consent to it, we kind of relegate it to, we decide with our attention whether it's worthy of attention or not. And we're just like, eh. So it's a teeny little emotional attachment that we get to. That's kind of a yes for consent or no for, just nothing. It's nothing, right? We write it off. So I'm curious how many of us experience these precognitive kind of, flashes. To me, it's flashes. I've never experienced it any other way. Almost like a scene is just coming up on the screen of my mind's eye so quickly, not even a second, like fractions of a second of just like poof. like one of those old school cameras where they had those very bright bulbs that kind of exploded and you just got the image just very quickly. So in the clip I'm going to describe how to do this, how to artificially or more intentionally create these precognitive flashes so that you can start to get into feedback loops with yourself of being a better manifester, of instant payoff for your manifestations, right? Because you're creating these kind of right ahead of yourself on the path of life. And I do this all the time. Unbeknownst to my own self, I'm doing this all the time. I mean, when I'm intentionally doing it, but I'm also I've created enough feedback loops with my mind, with my simulative process, where I'm doing this all the time, kind of unconsciously, and it still excites and delights me. And when I did it yesterday, when I was kind of just organically doing it, it still surprises and delights me when reality suddenly shifts before my eyes. And I was like, yeah, I did that. So it's just these little great nuggets along the path where, again, you build your belief in manifesting, your belief that in the simulation, evidence of the simulation, and it's fun. It makes life very exciting and fun. So enjoy the clip. I am going to attach it here. And as always, let me know what you think. Drop a comment below. Give me some feedback. I would love to interact with you. And yeah, enjoy me describing the art of precognition and how we can instantly influence and shape and change our reality, our simulation. This is what we do. This is what I found. We have to come at it from a neutral mind. Again, we have to differentiate. First step is neutral mind. Neutral mind, so kind of settle down the thoughts. Again, if we can't do this, we got to go back to emotional mastery. Because we're selecting a preferred reality, right? We're not trying to, oh, this has to happen or I'm going to be upset or I'm not going to be happy. We can't come into it like that. So neutral mind. Flash the desired outcome into your mind. And again, I like to do this when we want an instant result. We have to do this with something that we believe could happen instantly. So things that are actively happening in our 3D reality. I like to do this when I'm running. I play with people on the path in my mind. You know, I have this belief that when I'm running around the lake in the mornings, nobody passes me up. Nobody passes me. I like being the front runner. You know, there's other people running, there's other people walking, but nobody passes me up. And so, sometimes I will envision someone turning around, or I'll envision them stopping, or I'll just use that mantra, like nobody passes me up, and then release it. It's just, so neutral mind, you can either flash it as an image or you can say it as an affirmation, and really mean it. Like, you don't have to feel it necessarily. I think people get confused with the feeling because they go overboard and over-generate it. And then it feels like a moving into reality. You move into that reality and the reality that you're witnessing becomes more of a peripheral. You can kind of move into it and then you release it because it's happened, like it's there, you're moving into it. You can release that dependence on having to get that reality. And then this is the kicker. You don't tell any more stories. You stop with the language. You stop with the language because often we have these expectations of how reality goes, right? We are like, oh, this is how people behave and this is what's going to happen next. We're simulating our reality. We have these expectations of, very limited and so when you drop those stories, when you fail to tell them in the moment, you'll often find that people's behavior will change before your eyes because you're not anticipating anything specific. So like when I'm running and I'm like, nobody passes me up. I move into, I'm just like, yeah, there's like a certainty. That's the moving into that reality. And if I see someone passing me up and, I'm not like, oh, it's not working. Oh gosh, I messed it up. Oh, nope, you don't do that. I see someone passing me up. I'm just observing. You know what happens? They turn around. I've had people turn around. I've had people stop and tie their shoe. I've had people split off to go to their car. I mean, all kinds of things, interesting things happen. So again, and it's not something that if it doesn't happen, I'm going to be really upset about, right? We don't want to create a negative feedback loop where if this doesn't happen, it didn't work. We beat ourselves up or anything like that. So come into it with a neutral mind, either flash your desired outcome in your mind's eye as, just real quick, boink. Just like you're witnessing it happen in reality. Boink, and then you just kind of move forward. You just move forward into it, with a neutral mind, not telling any stories, and then observe what happens and see your results and play with it, play with it. So I invite you to, again, do this in situations where you already believe that it could go that way. Because this is where people mess up. They think, oh, I want $1 million to fall out of the sky and in my hand, but you don't believe that that could happen. So that's where we kind of mess it up. We have our truth, our beliefs, what we choose to be true is what we allow to be true. And so we need a mechanism for that event, that outcome, that reality to go through the truth that we permit to be true. Does that make sense? So if we don't allow it to be true, it's not going to happen that way. The outcome will not happen that way. So we got to get all that stuff, in congruence with each other. Let me know what you thought. Try it. See what happens. See if you can shift these little tiny things. Start small. Start with things that it doesn't matter. When I'm running, it doesn't matter if somebody passes me up. It really, really does not matter. It doesn't mean anything about me. So it's just a preference. Start with things that are just like, oh, I would prefer this, but I'm equally okay if it doesn't happen either. Start with things like that because that is, it's the bigger things that we struggle with often because we have that attachment. So try it out. See how many ripples you can send into the simulation. And thanks for watching. See you guys later.